reflection for our troops who keep us free.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Lisa, would you read the Open Public Meetings Act, please?
According to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been given to the Daily Record. Notice has been posted in the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakestown Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey, and notices were sent to those requesting the same.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Amianda?
Here.
Mr. Frente?
Here.
Mrs. Leybow?
Here.
Mr. Perkins?
Here.
Mr. Nacastro?
Here.
Mr. Mania?
Here. By the way, Mr. Roman is excused. First on the agenda is discussion matter, Gold Mine Road reopening.
I'll start. We have been looking at different options in terms of traffic issues coming out of Country Oaks for years. I would say probably we've made between 5 and 10 attempts to get the state to put a traffic light at Route 46 and Connolly Avenue. Even though our police department at times has said, due to the topography, that that may not be the best option. I had to look over to the police department when I said that. The two options which are on the table right now and have been on the table for some time after the traffic light went down was actually going through Morris Chase, which would have required a considerable expenditure on the township, including taking over the roadway system in Morris Chase. The other option which is available to us is the option of actually taking Gold Mine Road, opening Gold Mine Road in a one-way direction from Country Oaks up towards ITC. We don't want to create a situation where we're going to have a cut-through. So having considered both of those options, our engineer indicated that it was his preference to go turn Gold Mine Road into a one-way from the Route 46 side going back up to ITC. We don't think that that's going to cause a significant change in the traffic flow, and it will create an option in terms of getting people out of Country Oaks up towards the Flanders section without a considerable expense. So out of the two options which we've now been presented with, in light of the fact that it's not likely we're going to get a traffic light at 46 and Connolly Avenue, is the administration's position that we would like to move forward with that. We don't believe that it's an expensive option, and we don't believe that it's going to cause a significant expense to the township, as it would if we took over the Morris Chase roadway system, which we think would be a mistake on our part. And we are recommending that we go that route at this point.
Certainly you take your life in your hands trying to make a left turn coming down Connolly Avenue onto 46. I mean, before a tragedy happens, I'm glad we're going to do something.
It won't resolve all of the issues, and it won't prevent people from making that or attempting to make that
But it gives them an option.
It does give them an option in terms of getting out to different areas within Mount Olive without having to make that left turn. I think that the Morris Chase option creates more possibility in terms of lefts and rights, because it would bring you to the light at Mount Olive Road where there's a traffic light and you could make a left and a right safely. But that option, for various reasons, namely the expense of taking over that roadway system, which we've been advised would be particularly problematic for us, that's why we're recommending the other option at this point.
Question I have, Mayor, to bring that road up to standard, do we know how much the cost would be?
I'd have to defer to Sean in terms of what he knows.
Yeah, it doesn't entail wholesale road milling and resurfacing. There's several potholes on the road. There's some leaves and some vegetative debris on the side, but it's minimal in terms of labor cost. As to widening that road, there's no infrastructure, heavy laying down of QP and new asphalt millings. You have to go down. The vegetative growth inside has to be trimmed back. There's a culvert, which is part of the county's section there, that's already on their improvement list. So we view it as minimal, to be honest with you. We don't envision it even raising to the level of a capital project.
And ultimately, if it didn't work from our perspective, the investment into the improvement we could reverse if it didn't work in terms of the safety that we're looking to achieve.
I don't believe there's money in the budget to do work up there this year. Would we have to wait till next year?
I think you can do it this year. To be honest,
can?
most of this I think is going to be you're already paid for labor costs in your S&W. Asphalt and patching and that type of material I believe is already accounted for. Procedurally, I would wait until fall to see where we're at, to see if it's been a rough year, and I'd like to identify if we can in early to mid-fall. But if we look good budget-wise and we're able to take care of our other stuff, I don't see why we couldn't move the ordinance, and when we can bring that road up to where our engineer feels it's good for traffic, we could do it this fall.
It negatively impacts a very small, if any, number of existing residents. It allows us to create a safe way out of that development at low cost to the township. I think it's a win-win.
Mr. Perkins?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mayor, you're saying from Route 46 all the way back would be one way?
All the way, actually, we need to take a look at that issue. Actually, Tanglewood comes out onto Gold Mine Road. And I don't know whether or not it would be one way from Tanglewood up to ITC. Is that what the
That's
thought
what
is?
he's recommending. Yeah.
That's what the thought is. So that it would be two ways going towards 46. At Tanglewood, it would be
One way, the rest of the way back. Yeah, I was just concerned about the car wash business being right there on the corner, because
Right.
everybody exits out onto Gold Mine.
Yeah, so that is what the recommendation is, that it would be one way from Tanglewood up to ITC.
And Sean, the culvert, that my understanding is that the amount of truck traffic that was going over that years ago, back from the original development that started, had collapsed quite a portion of that. The county, do you have a time frame for when they're going to be?
Now, Gene's been in touch with the county superintendent of Public Works. That is slated for a fix this year. We don't have a time frame from the county. That is their responsibility. So we're hoping that they'll give us a time frame. And my just initial inclinations are, once they fix that, then subsequent to that, we would put our own efforts into improving the rest of the road. We would not improve it until the county was done with their
Until
obligations.
they're done? Okay, yeah, because I was just thinking maybe, sticking a weight restriction or something on there so we don't get truck traffic bagging over that
The
thing.
bottom line is that whatever restrictions we need to put on that lane of traffic, the idea is that it's to alleviate the problem coming out of Country Oaks, to give them another option to access other parts of town without having to make the left and the right out of Connolly Avenue.
I agree wholeheartedly, Mayor. I think, as we say, let's take a look in the fall. I mean, we've had some bad winter time and whatnot that's gone, but if the funding's available for it in the fall, and the county has completed theirs, then yes, I think subsequent to that, then we should undertake this project and give these people some alternative other than to trying to make that left out on 46.
Mrs. Laybow?
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to just say that I know that some of the people who live on that section of Gold Mine from Tanglewood to 46, a lot of them go through Country Oaks to get on their section, because different times of the day to make the left onto Gold Mine on Route 46 is really kind of treacherous. So if we're going to block that off, well, I agree that would be a good plan. However, it's going to impact the people who kind of, for safety reasons, go through Country Oaks to get to their houses from Tanglewood to 46 on Gold Mine Road.
I think when you take a look at the number of houses that
There's about 50.
positively impact.
Oh,
versus
yeah.
the number, I don't know how many houses we're talking about, but it's a handful that would live, I'm
Yeah.
going to say, east of where we're looking to turn it into a one-way street.
Right.
How many houses are there? 2, 3, as
From
compared to 200 houses?
Tanglewood to,
From Tanglewood to ITC, versus Tanglewood to 46. I don't know how many
Oh,
houses are
Tanglewood,
there.
oh, Tanglewood to 46, there's a lot.
There's none, I don't.
Yeah, but not Tango
No,
Wood 46, that's gonna be a two-way.
That's gonna be two-way.
I know, it's gonna be two-way, but I'm saying when we block it off, I would,
Not blocking anything off.
oh, you'll just have a sign, so the people from Country Oaks could make a right if they wanted to?
Yes.
Okay, I
Yeah.
misunderstood. I was thinking
Yes.
we were gonna make it that they couldn't make a right.
No,
Not a problem.
No, it's gonna be from
Okay.
Tanglewood. People coming out of Tanglewood will be able to make a right or a left.
Okay, good.
Anyone coming from 46 will only be able to either make a left on Tanglewood or continue east
Straight.
on Goldmine.
Okay, I'm good.
Anyone on Goldmine would be able to access 46 or continue towards ITC.
Okay, good.
My
I'm okay.
understanding is that there are no houses there, so.
No, there aren't any
It's-
down the
it's-
other way,
it's-
yeah.
It's an unfortunate decision that we have to make because it is not ideal. It doesn't allow for left turns onto 46, which we would have liked to have done, but it does give additional options in terms of
Yeah.
exiting out of the Country Oaks
I think it's great,
neighborhood.
yeah. I just wanted to just bring that one part up, but you solved that issue, thank you.
The only other real option which we looked at was going through Morris Chase, but the roadway system in Morris Chase doesn't really allow for
Right.
the kind of traffic that we would be looking to
To generate.
divert through there. It's a very narrow roadway. It would create major problems for the township in terms of taking over the roadway system in there, and I'm not prepared to recommend that at this point in time. And again, the cost that we would be putting into this fix, this attempt at a fix, if it didn't work, we could always come back and take a look at whatever options we have.
Yeah.
So I think that this is a good try at a minimal cost.
The other thing that's really good about doing that is for emergency vehicles to have a easier way to get through to the other side. And so
Yeah.
there's a lot of pluses to it.
Any other comments, council?
I don't know if there's anyone from the audience.
I'll take care of that.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the council? Is there anyone from the public wish to be heard on this matter? Please step up to the mic, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, good evening. My name is Bonnie Niederman. I live at 67 Connolly Avenue in the Country Oaks neighborhood you're discussing. It's at the corner of Connolly and Tanglewood where I live. And the road that you're considering opening up as for the part of Goldmine for one-way access out to ITC and 206 is like 4 houses away from where I live. So one of the reasons people in my specific area of that neighborhood prefer that road not to be opened up is because of the excess traffic it will bring into our immediate area there. I do understand there are many residents in my neighborhood that do want that road opened up, even if it's only on a one-way capacity, because they want easier access to Route 206. But I think it's been expressed already, the majority of you understand, I hope, that it does not alleviate anything as far as making left-hand turns onto Route 46 whatsoever. It does provide another exit from the neighborhood, but only towards ITC and towards Route 206. It doesn't address the dangerous situation we experience with left-hand turns today. So but the primary concern that I have as a resident at that corner where this additional traffic will now be coming and flowing through is that people already speed around that corner onto Tanglewood to get onto the section of Goldmine that's open today. And to add extra volume to that corner, and no doubt they're not going to slow down any more than they slow down today, is very troublesome because we have a lot of small children, literally infants, toddlers. You know, the oldest child in that vicinity is 11 years old right now, and there's new babies being born every day. I do believe there's something in the water, but aside from that, so it's rather problematic. Now, I know a lot of my fellow residents in the neighborhood disagree with me because they would really like the easier access to 206 and to ITC, so I can appreciate that. But I also would just like to express that they're not living at that intersection where that additional traffic is going. They're in other roads deeper into the neighborhood that don't experience that corner traffic today. So if we open it up for a second exit point, it very, very likely will double, because right now when you leave the neighborhood to go to ITC, you do have to go out onto Route 46 and not Tanglewood and Goldmine. And that's
Mayor?
what I would just like to express.
Don't leave. I agree with you 100%, and I recognize that the options that we're presented with negatively impact the people who live in the Tanglewood area of your neighborhood. And while I am not in favor of speed humps generally, in light of the improvement that we're making, perhaps in that general area, a speed hump would be beneficial to slow traffic down as they're exiting the neighborhood. I would much prefer to have gotten a traffic light at the intersection of Route 46 and Connolly Avenue. But that's not going to happen because the state is not going to allow us to do that. So we're limited to taking traffic out through Tanglewood or doing nothing.
Right, but again, just to reiterate, it doesn't alleviate anything as far as needing to go west on Route 46.
I don't have that option at this point.
I understand.
Except to go through the other option, which is to go through the Morris Chase neighborhood and bring people out to Mount Olive Road, which doesn't really solve your immediate issue in your neighborhood, because whether you go left or right on Gold Mine Road, as we increase traffic going out through Tanglewood, whether they go left or right, it doesn't change your concern, your immediate concern, in terms of the traffic speed going through your neighborhood. And I recognize that the left turn going up to ITC doesn't change getting to 46 and making a left at a traffic light to go west on 46, which the other option would, because I could take people out to the light at Mount Olive Road if I went through the Morris Chase neighborhood. But that impacts many more residential houses. The same speed concerns that you have in terms of Tanglewood would now be magnified, because you'd still have the problems in Country Oaks, and now you'd have the problems in Morris Chase as well. In terms of the options, the costs that it would incur, it's just not a viable option right now. And I would rather see the first option tried at a minimal cost. Obviously understanding that the traffic flow going through Tanglewood will cause additional problems, no matter which way I went. And try and mitigate those issues to you and see how the traffic going on Gold Mine Road affects the traffic flow generally out of Country Oaks. The other option is to do nothing. And that's not a viable option to me as I sit here. I oftentimes have to make decisions, whether it's in my neighborhood, and I live in Flanders Crossing, or whether it's in your neighborhood in Country Oaks or any other neighborhood in town, where I have to oftentimes make decisions which negatively impact certain homeowners at the benefit of the township. And that's an unfortunate thing that I have to sit here and do. And I'll give you an example, because I deal with it all the time in my neighborhood. When Siemens expanded, I created many issues, traffic issues, site issues, for people who live in my neighborhood, who have been big supporters of the decisions that I've made in the past. But ultimately, as somebody who's got a fiduciary obligation to the township, and somebody who's got an obligation to make decisions which are in the best interests of a majority of the residents in the township, I have to look at all of the options that are available. And I can sit here and tell you that I've been sitting on town council or as mayor for 15 years with Ray Perkins, and for 15 years we have heard the people in Country Oaks tell us about the nightmare that they've had and what are the options that are available to us. And we've tried and tried and tried and tried to get that traffic light at Route 46, because I recognize that that is the solution to the problem from my perspective. The police department thinks otherwise based upon topography. That's not an option which is on the table, unfortunately. So now I'm looking at this other option. So my intent right now is, how can I satisfy your concerns about additional traffic which is going to be coming out through Connolly Avenue and Tanglewood? What can I do to slow the traffic down? And it may be actually a better situation after I put in some kind of traffic speed device, or whatever I can do at that point than what you have now, which is traffic which comes around that turn at fast speed. So I feel bad. I live, do you know where I live in
I know
Flanders
where
Crossing?
Flanders, I don't know where in Flanders Crossing, but
My-
I do know
my
where you
kids-
live.
My kids can't play on the street. I live at a point in Flanders Crossing where traffic comes left, traffic comes right, it comes out, people speed through the neighborhood.
Right, but is that the one and only entrance into and out of that
It
neighborhood?
is.
Okay, this now would create a second entrance in and out, well, out of our neighborhood.
It's already
with the
a second
additional-
entrance out.
Well, for Gold Mine, yes.
Yes.
But my point is, it doesn't do anything to alleviate the left on Route 46. What it will do is it will alleviate some of the right-hand turn traffic onto 46, which is fairly safe at this point, by redirecting it into the very much residential area of Country Oaks. And I guess if the intent was to alleviate left-hand turn traffic, we know that's not gonna happen.
I don't have any other option.
But what's the impetus for it at all?
The
Is it- I
impetus.
think I know there are many members of the neighborhood that want another route out of the neighborhood to Route 206 directly. That's the major
I-
impetus for this, then that's one thing,
I
but,
think the impetus for this is that it actually will reduce a certain amount of traffic that would have made a left turn out of Connolly and then tried to access whatever other parts of Mount Olive that are available, whether it be the high school, ITC. It will alleviate some of that traffic that otherwise would have made a left turn out of Connolly.
okay.
The only other option is to make it two-way, which is really not a viable option to me. Because I don't want to make it into a thoroughfare for the rest of Mount Olive Township to access between Route 46 and ITC. And that's why the thought process was to make it one-way heading in the direction that we were making it. Right now, you can go out Tanglewood and make a right onto Gold Mine Road and try to make a left onto 46 if you think that's a better intersection to make a left than Connolly onto 46. That's not changing at all. I agree with you 100%. Doesn't change that. But the more traffic that we divert out of that intersection at Connolly safely, I think is a benefit to your community. And if it doesn't work, then the cost that we're spending to see if it works is worth it. And if it doesn't work, then we'll reverse course and we'll close it back down.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, my recollection is that when we applied for the traffic light, the state wanted to know how many fatalities took place at that.
You know, the bottom line is that, to be quite honest, there are topography problems at that intersection. There are other traffic lights which are too close to that intersection. And even our own police department's recommendation at the time was not to place anytime you change traffic flow, you create other problems, other traffic issues. It's not a simple solution, and that's why we, sitting up here, don't make decisions without sending it to the police department first in terms of them taking a look at the issue. This is a rather easy issue because we're not taking traffic through the rest of town and diverting it through existing neighborhoods.
Exactly.
What we're doing is we're taking a look at, and the costs associated with this potential resolution of some of the issues, not all of the issues obviously, is really minimal. And if it doesn't work, we can, look, I'm the first to sit up here and say, if it didn't work, shut it back down.
Absolutely.
But I'm at a loss at this point. We're really either gonna do something or we're gonna do nothing, and I would rather try and do something.
I agree, Mayor. Don't disagree. Anyone else from the public? Please come up and state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, I'm Donna Cromie, and I also live at 67 Connolly. And a couple things Bonnie forgot was that we were talking earlier about, I think this is going to pass no matter what we want. And then give it a year, give it 2 years, you're going to eventually make that two-way. That's what I'm afraid of. Every day, at that same corner is a bus stop. You got little kids, big kids, all kinds of kids. People stand there, and the cars just zip by. Some of them look like they're almost going to be on two wheels. And speed bumps, we've touched that topic a few times at our meetings, and nobody wants a speed bump in their front of their house. So I have no idea how this is going to help anybody other than getting to the 206. If I don't want to go to 206, I need to go to 46. I'm still going to make my right-hand turn. I'm still going to make my left-hand turn. Why would I go to 206 and loop all the way around? Well, I don't even know where you're telling me to go. To go left, to go down 206, and I don't know what you're helping me with. Any answers? Okay, thank you.
I can answer that, actually, if you wanted to. You could get anywhere in Flanders, you could get to the municipal building, you could get to Turkey Brook Park, you could get to Chester, you could get any place.
If I want to go to CVS, I should go out Gold Mine,
No, if
go
you
to
want-
206.
If you want to go to CVS, you're going to go out Connolly, and you're going to probably make a right turn, heading out to 46, or...
No, CVS is left.
Yeah, so you could go any way you want, but I think you missed the point. Any traffic that we're taking off of the road in terms of whatever direction people want to go, giving them another option, creates less of an issue at your intersection. And as I said, if it doesn't work, if it's of no benefit, then we can always reverse course and go back. The only other option at this point is really to do nothing, and that's
Let me
not
finish.
an option that I'm recommending.
Oh, do you someday going to turn that into a two-way road?
I can't tell you, I can't promise you that I'm never going to turn that into a two-way road, but I have no interest in doing that, otherwise I would have done it at this point in time. The reason that I'm opening up Gold Mine Road to start with is only to help the people in Country Oaks. There's no other reason to open it, there's no reason for me to turn it into a two-way road.
And again, that's helping us.
Again, anybody who wants to head towards ITC, anyone who wants to head anywhere in Flanders, wouldn't have to make the left out to go to Wolf Road if that's the direction that they were going.
Sean?
Mr. Council President, thank you. I will say that since I've been here in January 2012, the Country Oaks Residential Association, they have a association in the neighborhood there, have been vociferous and very much in contact with us for the last 2.5 years, begging for an alternative for an exit on Route 46. They have a representative, I guess, community there that does represent the community. They've been in touch nonstop with the mayor's office, and they've been begging us for some type of resolution to this matter. And it's one of the reasons why we've been persistent with this, originally through DOT, then with Morris Chase, Morris Hunt, and now with the gold mine option. But since I've come here for the last almost 3 years now, it's been a persistent problem and concern that they've been seeking a resolution. So while I appreciate the residents having a difference of opinion, the representative group that represents that neighborhood is steadfast in their request of a solution. And we've tried our best to provide one.
For an option to get on 46, not to 206.
For an alleviation of a left turn from Connolly Road on Route 46. The concern was...
But I think
their
you
teenage-
misunderstand the whole issue.
The concern was, and I remember it verbatimly, was their teenage children about to become 17-year-old drivers making a left onto 46, and we have to have another option because they're fearful of their children, the older ones now at this point, and ending up in a fatality. And they've been begging for anything.
I have a question for you. Would you rather prefer that we open up through Morris Chase, allowing traffic both ways on Gold Mine to access in and out of Connolly? That would be more preferable to you? Living on Tanglewood, that would actually increase traffic on your portion of Tanglewood and Connolly, because now you have people coming in and out through Mount Olive Road. That would be a preferable option to you than what we're proposing?
I don't care about that neighborhood.
No, I'm
Let
not
them go
talking about
through.
Morris Chase, I'm talking about where you live in Country Oaks. If I opened up Morris Chase and made it so that you could get in from Mount
Is
Olive
that the new
Road.
development?
Yep,
Okay.
you don't want that. But then it'll, more states will come.
Listen, I can't have people back there.
I understand that. Believe me,
No,
it was
we don't want-
kind of a rhetorical question. And I recognize, believe me, I recognize that whatever situation we have short of figuring out how to get out of Connolly onto 46, which I can't do, unfortunately, and I want to do. I sat here for years trying to figure it out, but the state's not going to allow me to do it. So the other option, we're dealing with 3 options. Do nothing. The Gold Mine Road option, which allows you to get out to ITC in one direction, but not open it both ways, so I'm not having traffic coming in both ways. Or Morris Chase, which would allow you to come in both ways through Tanglewood also. Either of the 2 other options, both ways on Gold Mine or through Morris Chase into Country Oaks, creates a whole twice as much traffic coming in through Tanglewood. And I recognize that the solution that we're trying to do right now will create additional traffic on Connolly and Tanglewood, but it's the lesser of the 3 evils that I'm looking at. So we're really looking at, from the people who live, your situation is either do nothing or do what I'm suggesting. Does it fix anything? I don't know. I don't know whether or not it fixes anything. I have to be quite honest with you, the points that you've raised have been very good in terms of it doesn't fix the left out of Connolly, but it does take some traffic that otherwise would make a left, and maybe they go a different direction. It doesn't create the twice as much traffic that the other options would. So I'm really left with considering your options, doing what I suggest and seeing how it affects everybody. And if it affects everybody really badly, shut it down, because it didn't cost us a lot to try it, or do nothing. That's why I went with the other route.
Can I ask one more?
Yes.
Are you
I'll
going to
try and
open,
answer.
it's a dirt road now from Gold Mine into the new neighborhood. Is that going to be opened?
That's the other option.
Oh, that was the
And
other.
That's not the option that that's not the option that the engineer has suggested. It creates a much bigger traffic problem for you where you live, as if I turn Gold Mine 2-way. Look, there are a lot of times that people come up here and say, well, in the future, are you gonna open it up? In the future, you're gonna put lights here. In the future, I can't tell you what's gonna happen in the future, and if I did try and tell you, you'd come back and tell me I'm a liar. My point is, if I had the drivers, I would never open up Gold Mine Road. I would never open up Flanders Netcong Road. You don't want to take traffic which is on a major highway and put it back in through neighborhoods. And that's why every time someone comes and wants to open up Flanders Netcong Road, which runs basically from Route 206 and would cut you down much further and avoid a lot of traffic, you don't want to take, I'd rather have people sit in traffic on 206 than drive through neighborhoods. I don't want to do that. That's not what we do from a planning perspective. My decision here in terms of what I'm trying to do is to help your neighborhood in general.
Why was
And-
Gold Mine closed anyway?
Why was it
Why was
closed?
it closed?
Because we didn't want people to drive from the major highways through neighborhoods and affect people. Here we have a situation where it basically will impact only your neighborhood and a couple houses on Gold Mine Road that are closer to 46 who may see a little bit of traffic of people trying to cut through but won't affect your neighborhood. And so this really is an attempt to see if we can create some option for the people in Country Oaks, and I recognize, believe me, I recognize that it will impact a certain amount of traffic coming out of Country Oaks is going to take Tanglewood instead of trying to access 46. But that's exactly why we're trying to do it. And so sometimes traffic is a necessary evil for certain people to help others. And that's what we're trying to do. If there is more traffic in your neighborhood because we've made ITC Gold Mine Road and access heading that direction, then maybe what we're doing is the right thing to do.
Like you said, Mayor.
Thank you.
If it doesn't work, shut it down again.
Look, I hate to cause problems for anybody, but when you try and fix something that's broke and you're limited in your options, you look at the available options and you choose the best one.
Mr. Perkins, you had a question?
Thank you, Mr. President. It really wasn't a question. It was to address your concerns and some of the statements that you've just made. And I have to correct the mayor, we've only been here 13 years, Mr. Mayor. I know it seems a lot longer. The issues with nobody making a left-hand turn onto Route 46, they're gonna do it. Because if I lived where you live, and I'm just the other side of the highway, so I can tell you that those people that drive down Forest and have to make a left-hand turn onto 46 is just as bad for those as it is for the people that come out of Connolly. So, look, if you want to make a left-hand turn onto a state highway that's got two-lane traffic speeding at 55 miles an hour each way, God bless you, go for it. I wouldn't. I'd make a right-hand turn and go down to the Village Green, make the left-hand turn at the light, go around the back, and come back the other way. It's not that far. And people say, well, but then that's far out of the way. And I said, well, go down to Route 10 or any other place where you want to go to the store on the other side. You've got another half a mile, 3/4, or an easy mile to travel in the opposite direction to get to a U-turn to turn around and come back. The option that the administration has come before, they come to us for funding, right, with the legislative branch, and they say, this is something that we want to do. We've done the investigation. Gold Mine Road was closed out when the ITC South went in so that it wouldn't become a thoroughfare that would pass back and forth. I would venture, and I'm not part of your association, but I think if you polled most of the people, how many people would be really going out Tanglewood, making a left onto Gold Mine to go up to 206? Pretty much you're not going to go all the way up to 206 and make a left-hand turn because, correct me if I'm wrong, you can't.
Right.
So the only way you can go is 206 South, unless you take the interconnecting road, which I guess they still call the connector road that runs
Link.
next to Lowe's, the Link Road.
Link Road.
And take that into the ITC, and then go up to the traffic light. Now, you or I, if we were leaving that, I'd make a right-hand turn, and even if I had to go to Lowe's, I'd still take 46 and go up through ITC South and get to Lowe's. I surely would not go up the opposite way.
A lot safer.
Unless I lived close enough that it made sense that now Gold Mine Road is open, there'll be less traffic, right? You're not out on a state highway, that I could get up to Lowe's. But it surely doesn't help you if you want to go to Sam's Club, because you're really going out of the way. So what the mayor's option is to say is, look, we've been approached by this community since its inception, since it went in there. And there have been accidents. Now, I can't tell you that the accidents were from people coming out making a left onto 46 versus those people that decide that they have to come home on Route 46 and make the left-hand turn and go into Connolly, which backs traffic all the way up into the intersection. There has been accidents there. This hopefully will alleviate some of the congestion problems, and specifically at your address where you're looking, there's 3 ways we try to do things. Traffic control, you got education, enforcement, and then control.
Engineering.
I call it control.
Control.
So we'll try the enforcement, police officers, we may not have enough to be able to be out there. Speed bumps, some sort of controlling device that slows people down. Until it happens, I would ask you to bear with us to see what the impact is upon your specific property. How many people really are using this road once it's opened to leave? Because they can only go one way. They can only go up toward the ITC. If you're going to speak, you would have to go up to the microphone, please.
I'm sorry, I just have one more thing to ask about because it just occurred to me. I'm still the same person. If it's going to be open to be one way, right now
Speak
it's
into the
two
mic,
ways.
please, so we won't hear you.
I apologize. If it's going to be open to be as a one-way, right now it's 2 ways past the fence where the cement factory is, I believe. So are you going to be converting that whole section, which is now 2-way, to a one-way?
No. you
Then what
can't.
part of it's actually going to be one-way?
From where it's closed currently and Tanglewood.
So where the gate is that goes across now, where the roadway is
Right.
closed before you
To
get up to the
Tanglewood, which is
cement
not
factory?
very far.
Right, it's a
So
very
who's
short
going to be
distance.
patrolling that and stopping people that are coming from ITC into the neighborhood the other way, if that section there is now supposed to be one way?
Again, that's
I
going to have to...
mean, what's going to prevent that two-way traffic from happening
actually a
if
good
you're not making the whole thing one way?
All I can tell you is, once you make a street one way, my street is one way, and I still get people that go down it the wrong way. So you're never going to completely stop it. There's going to be do not enter one-way signs that are going to be there. So if people come past the concrete, what is it, Quickcrete?
Quickcrete, yeah.
If they come past that to get in, it's going to say one-way, do not enter. Now, if they violate the law and someone happens to write down their license plate number and calls that into the police department, then they would be obviously subjected to a penalty and a fine.
We can also make road improvements that will make it very clear that it is one way, you know, narrow the roadway, have signs that do not enter, that it's not going to be an accidental situation where somebody continues to drive down the road.
Gotta
Thank you.
give us a chance, please, Ms. Noda.
Sir, please come up to the mic, state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Scott Anderson. I live on Rolling Hills in the Country Oaks community. I've been living there for about 12 years now. And, I'm going to say probably a lot of what you've kind of already said, but I think it's well known that that is a dangerous left turn. And I think the biggest concern I have is I have 4 kids, and I do realize that there might be a little an increase in traffic, potentially down Rolling Hills as well as Conley. But my biggest concern, and what I would tell my children straight up, is they're never allowed to turn left on 46. Okay, so like the mayor's saying, is that the only other option then, if we do nothing, is that they do have to turn right and find a way to loop around and come back. I do feel that this will alleviate some pain if we do open it up, because you're saying I'm not even sure how much it will help. I already know for a fact it's definitely going to help. It may not. It's definitely not the solution about turning left on 46. I completely agree with Bonnie on that.
Absolutely.
But I do feel strongly that this will alleviate some pain. It'll alleviate traffic on 46. It'll alleviate the attempts at making a left-hand turn, because if you are going to be going down in the Flanders area, it does make sense to take that road. So like if you're going to Hackettstown, yeah, you're going to be going out of your way. If you're going to the CVS, it's going to be out of your way. And it doesn't really make a lot of sense, which means you'll probably have to take a right, loop around, and come back if you don't want to take a left-hand turn. So, and I don't know if there's a concern necessarily. Bonnie mentioned that there's already speeders going through our community. I know we have mentioned speed bumps in the past. I think we were put on a list to put in speed bumps in the community, but I don't know the details about that. But I just think that this is a solution that will provide a benefit. Specifically for me, for my children, because like I said, when they start driving, they're not going to be allowed to turn left on the 46 from our community.
Smart decision.
Yeah. I did have a question about the potential, we talked about some alleviations of problems. What about like maybe putting a gate in? Has there been a thought about even doing some kind of like a gate that the community has a code to or something like that? Has there been any thought to potential, or would we wait until we'd see how this goes and then maybe address any potential issues that might be coming up of strangers cutting through the community trying to...
I'm not sure that that's a viable option.
Okay.
For a number of different reasons.
Okay. All right, well, that's basically, I just want to let you know that I do represent a few of the community members that I'm aware of that, are interested in this going through. I know that there are going to be some pain points with, definitely with the back end of the community. Everyone on Tango is going to be upset about it, because now you are talking about, that's the point of it, is having another exit of the community. So therefore, they went from a quiet street to now people actually using it as a secondary exit of the community. So
it's already an exit to the community. It's already a second. You can make a right out of there. If it had been closed completely, I might take a different view of, I might not, I don't know. But it's already an exit out of the community.
Down by the car wash.
Well, you can take Tanglewood and make a right onto Goldmine as it is now. The question is, now we're allowing a left-hand turn out of there. And to the extent that we're taking traffic away from Connolly and 46, it's actually serving the purpose for which we're looking to. Whatever traffic we take out of that intersection is a benefit to, because you can already turn on Goldmine Road off of 46 if you wanted to and make the left into Tanglewood. It's just going to create a different avenue for people who live in your neighborhood, no one else really. It doesn't really serve any
Right.
other benefit.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate your input. Anyone else from the public? Not, I'll close it to the public. Mr. Emianda, did you have something that you?
No, I was going to ask you to tell me what was the reason for closing Gold Mine Road in the first place. And it appears that it's the same reason that you closed it and it's the same reason that you want to reopen it. What has changed?
You're asking me? I don't, the reason that it was closed originally was to stop traffic from coming on 46 to travel up to the ITC. The reason for the change is that we've recognized that there is a problem in a specific neighborhood which we need to address. And I think that a lot of the reasons why we closed it can be addressed through changes in the actual width of the roadway, perhaps putting up a gate which narrows the roadway for the sections that we're now reopening, that will make it unattractive as a cut through from Route 46 up to the ITC. But the reason for the change is that we're looking for a resolution of the traffic issues at Country Oaks.
Mrs. Lebo?
Thank you, Mr. President. There's one way that I can think of that will alleviate the left-hand turns onto 46 by doing this, opening up Gold Mine Road, is if we also opened up Flanders Neckcon Road, because as this gentleman was saying with his children, he's not going to allow them to make a left-hand turn. When the kids are driving, they want to get to the high school. If they were allowed to go on Gold Mine Road, make a right on Flanders Neckcon Road, the high school's right there. So they would have no reason to go all the way around. It would be, were you thinking of the same thing? Yeah, okay. And also anybody going to Turkey Brook Park, which I would imagine all of the younger kids well, even the older kids, they want to go to Turkey Brook Park for their sporting events. Middle school, that alleviates the problem as far as I can, and think in my mind that you make the left onto Gold Mine Road, you make a right onto Flanders Neckcon Road, you can go straight on Flanders Neckcon Road to Corey Road, you can make a right onto Flanders Road, get to Turkey Brook Park. And also, if you go past Corey Road, you make a right onto Flanders Drakestown Road, and you get to the middle school. So that takes care of all of the reason why anybody would make a left-hand, most of the people would make a left-hand turn coming out of your development there. Isn't that true? Like, and also CVS, it's not that far to get to CVS from there either, because you would go down Flanders, make a left on Mount Olive Road, right on Tulip, right on Woods Edge, and you're at CVS. So then you get rid of the, anyway, that's my 2 cents. I know Rob's probably ready to kill me. But I think that's...
How would you get to Tulip?
To Tulip?
You make a left on Gold Mine, you'd make a right
No,
on
you'd
Flanders,
make-
you'd make a right onto Flanders Neckcon, you'd take it to Flanders Road, and you'd make a
left on
Mount
Mount
Olive Road,
on
and
Mount-
a left on the Tulip.
No,
That's a right on
right
the
on the Tulip.
A right, no,
Right
it
on-
would be a left on the Tulip off
No.
of Flanders Road. It'd be a
No.
left on the Mount Olive and a right onto the
Right,
on the
that's
Tulip
Tulip.
and a right onto. That seems a little bit.
I think we're beating this thing to death.
No, I know, we're beating it to death, but the main thing is for the kids, for the school, most of the activity.
The idea, Colleen, that you're missing, and I understand how badly you want to open Flanders Neckcon Road. And I understand the arguments. I understand the arguments for opening Flanders Neckcon Road. But the idea that you miss is that as a planning perspective, you don't want to take traffic off of a highway and put it onto a side road, no matter what the traffic issues are. And Flanders Neckcon Road, in the areas that have been closed, whether you're talking about Morris Hunt, Flanders Neckcon Road, Southwind, are all residential areas. And if we were looking for a way necessarily to help those neighborhoods by taking Flanders Neckcon Road and turning it into a one-way street where we weren't taking traffic off of the main road and running it through the neighborhoods, I would agree with you. And I have no interest at all in opening up Gold Mine Road to create different traffic flows throughout the township, except as it relates to Country Oaks.
Rob, the one point, I don't know if I made it clear, if the plan is to alleviate left-hand turns onto Route 46,
That's not what we're doing here.
No,
If
no,
we
I
were-
know.
If we were looking at alleviating left-hand turns, we would go.
Please, let's not get off the subject here. Gosh,
It's actually
making this
this.
thing more complicated than what it is.
oh well,
Please.
we
I
all
think
said
we
our,
had enough
we have a lot of food for
discussion.
thought, so.
Does the council feel they want to move forward on this? If so, I'd like a straw poll.
I think we need more studies.
Yeah.
We need people to send someone there to interview the travelers to see.
That's your opinion,
Yeah.
only yours. Let's take a straw poll, please.
For the administration,
One,
go forward.
Mr.
with-
Mania, one question before the straw poll. I want to know if the residents on Gold Mine Road had been noticed about the opening.
You got to ask the administration.
Were they notified, the Gold Mine?
No, they were not.
No, okay. Because that would be who I would want to hear from. We heard from Connolly and Rolling, all that neighborhood, but I'd like to hear from the Gold Mine Road residents before I make a decision one way or another.
Right?
Thank you, Mr. President, and Mayor and Sean, correct me if I'm wrong here. What the administration's asking us to do is to look at approving them to move forward, which would also include, as LeBeau has stated to us, notification of residents, survey, not unlike we've done with sewers and whatnot, with anticipation, depending upon financings that are still available in the fall of this year, subsequent to the county doing the culvert repair.
Culvert, right.
That then and only then would we then be able to actually open that road. So Thanksgiving, maybe. All right, am I about right on that?
We're not ready to open the road anytime soon.
Anytime
All
soon.
right, so I think what you're looking for is for the council to be able to say, yes, if the monies
Go
are
ahead.
available, do
And do
your
all
due
this
diligence and get whatever needs to be
due
done.
diligence.
And I have no problem with
Mr.
authorizing
DeCastro, you
it.
had a question?
Sean, the community itself, the organization is approved basically another exit, which represents the community, haven't they?
It's not another exit, it's an exit
An
which is
alternative.
already open. It's
Yeah,
just a
that's
different,
true. But
it's
I
a
mean,
left turn.
but I remember you saying that basically the organization that represents the community said they want this, which is the representation of the community.
Correct. For about the 15 residences on Gold Mine Road, if I may,
Okay.
Mr. Council President.
That's what
We could certainly establish a baseline traffic flow there now by a traffic study. Obviously the traffic flow on Gold Mine out towards ITC is zero. But from 46 out to Tanglewood, that can certainly be done with the traffic counters by the police department. We'll establish a baseline traffic flow there now, which is not going to be significant. And you could do a post, if council, don't forget, there's going to be an ordinance change, there's going to be public notice, there's a mechanism that this body goes through that the residences will be aware of as well. So there will be notice out there for the local residents, and we'll be able to do a post traffic study as well, if council so desires.
All right, based on what Mr. Perkins said, let's do a straw poll, please.
Okay, the straw poll is to open Gold Mine Road one way to 206. Mr. Omianda?
I am for further traffic study. In other words.
So yes,
So you got to be a yes or a no.
Or an
No.
abstain.
Mr. Ferrante?
Yes.
Mrs. Laybow?
I'm going to abstain for now.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes. Okay. Next discussion matter is old municipal building property and boardwalk.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. President, point of order, did you want to move?
I'm going to do that right after discussion matters.
I'm going to do what?
Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Yeah, just in brief, in council's packet, you'll see an opinion brief from our engineer, Gene Kuzinski. And as we know, we have the Highlands redevelopment area for the Bud Lake immediate vicinity. And three of the prime concerns that the council's expressed, and we share that concern and those aspirations, is one, the Bud Lake Beach area. If we can do some type of long-term redevelopment in that area, and certainly Mr. Kuzinski's opinion letter addresses some of that area there where there's certainly room for growth, room for redevelopment, and room for possibly the township purchasing additional properties and improving the Bud Lake area. Of more significance, and I'll touch upon the three briefly and then field questions. The question of the boardwalk along Bud Lake. I know Councilman Roman, it's been very near and dear to him, as well as council sentiment in general. I asked both Chuck McGrarty, our planner, and Mr. Brzezinski, our engineer, to examine the issue and how problematic it is to get a boardwalk along there, and it seems to be problematic. Doesn't mean it's prohibitive, but there are permitting issues having to do with wetlands. There's legitimate traffic issues, debris flowing off the highway, as well as wind and temperate ice problems with Bud Lake freezing and upheavals and piers. So, you know, Gene feels the boardwalk itself may be a problem. I'm sure we can pursue it if council so desires, but I asked him to rate both of the thrusts in this overall long-term goal. So he feels it's not a positive endeavor. God bless you. And lastly, the overall redevelopment itself. What we were waiting for was a meeting with DOT about the boardwalk, but that's kind of on hold until I get some direction on council to pursue the boardwalk option or not. Regardless, we are going to have that business owner meeting. We're hoping to have it before early fall. That's in conjunction with the Highlands, and what Highlands and DEP really want to see, and we met with them on May 21st, they want to see a joint application to Highlands from all the property owners. Now, that's not going to happen where everybody's on board saying, yeah, let's do an exemption number 4 and exemption number 121 under Highlands, but we want to get as many people on board as we can to say, yeah, our property's in this Highlands redevelopment area. We want to cover our impervious surface coverages, designate ourselves as a Highlands redevelopment zone, and then get some conceptual plans. So those are the three main areas. I know council's been kind of wanting some updates on this, and that's where we're at. So the Bud Lake Beach area, that's certainly a township initiative. The boardwalk is a township initiative. It's problematic. And 3 is the joint application with the property owners up there, trying to retain those impervious surface coverages, get some type of business development up there that retains that coverage. So, in a nutshell, I'm giving you an update and also asking for direction as to the boardwalk.
Danny, you got a question?
Yeah, I read through the packet and I seem to agree that the council needs feasibility studies before deciding what to do with the old municipal building property. And according to the our engineer, the cost of building a boardwalk along the Route 46 will be too high. Also, it will not be safe for the public to use the boardwalk along the Route 46, especially on the towards the Route 46. That's why the boardwalk is not suitable for the boardwalk. Now, also environmental issues are to be considered before we can move forward with the boardwalk. Also, lack of public input and excitement about having the boardwalk in Bud Lake should be taken into account. Before we discussed here, some people had stopped me asking me that they had heard we were going to build a boardwalk, and I said, well, the council cannot discuss it, and they were shaking their heads. And so I feel that we will have to need the public input into that if they can help us come up with a decision.
Mayor?
It's a great concept with limitations. As we all know, a lot of the adjacent property to Bud Lake is privately owned. So really, what are we looking at if we were to put in a boardwalk? What we're really talking about, from my perspective, is a asphalt walkway adjacent to Route 46 and the lake. The question is, where does it run from and where does it go to? And I think that's what the DEP looked at. If we ran it from Sand Shore Road up to the municipal building, it's limited. It doesn't create a loop. If you look at what they did at Horseshoe Lake in Roxbury, they have a loop along Eland Road. It runs from Horseshoe Lake Park, runs along Eland Road. You make a right turn on whatever the roadway is that is perpendicular to Horseshoe Lake, and you get back into the park and it creates that loop. We don't have that luxury on that property. And that's why right now, to put in, I'm not even gonna call it a boardwalk, I'm gonna call it an asphalt walkway, which I would love to see, because I'm all for recreational, passive recreational opportunities. It doesn't work. DEP's not in favor of it for that reason, and I would ask the council to abandon it at this point in time. Instead, I have focused the administration on, for now, the railroad track that runs through Flanders. It runs near Main Street. If we can turn that into, it's really an abandoned, it was kept alive for Toys R Us, but they don't really use it. And I think it's used for the Santa run, basically, at this point. But if we can either take that railroad track through a trails to a rail to trails grant and create this walk, this pathway through Old Flanders that connects into the Columbia Trail, I think that's a better focus in terms of a passive recreation option right now. And let's revisit what we're doing along Route 46 as our redevelopment plans become more focused. And that's what I'm asking council to do.
Any others, Mr. Perkins?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mayor, I agree. The boardwalk, I mean, we've talked about this boardwalk for years. I'm always hesitant with a boardwalk. I mean, a boardwalk is nice, but you would walk down, I guess you get as far as Dock Roll, and you turn around and you go back, and there's nothing else to do. I think it would hamper some of the, you're obviously never going to be able to stop, hopefully never stop Fisher people from, going down there. So having a boardwalk there becomes, I don't know, it's not so much as an attraction as it becomes a nuisance. The beach itself, I love the beach the way that it's been made up. I mean, for as much as I hate eminent domain, I would love to take over where the store that's doing the outdoor flea market type thing, pawn shop, whatever it is, and converting that building into what our recreation department had originally looked for, which was some sort of a building with air conditioning that they could have quick first aid for people on the beach. Now that, of course, will require a better source of potable water. I think we all remember what happened from the old building. But that would be a quick fix to get the beach moving. And I then agree, Mayor, to put some thrust into the old Flanders section down there. And that trail along the rails, I think, would be a beautiful walk
Home run.
for people down there. And it's a great opportunity to give them something in that area of town where, quite frankly, we don't have anything to address that area.
I think, going on what you said, Ray, if we can take over, ultimately, Docks Marina eventually is going to be on the market. My concept is that let's look at whether or not it's feasible when it does become on the market to purchase Docks Marina. Let's look at that whole section in terms of the municipal responsibility in terms of revitalization of the Bud Lake area, in conjunction with what we've already put in place, which is the Highlands redevelopment zone for that whole stretch. And let's take a look at that point in time, what we can do in terms of passive recreation. That's the point in time where I think that we need to take a look at whether or not we can put something along Route 46 and whether or not it makes sense.
Makes sense. I agree, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any other questions? I guess now the question is, do we want to go forward with what the mayor presented about the railroad?
It's not really on the table right now.
Okay.
The administration is looking at the various
Okay,
options.
so at a later point in time,
Yes.
we'll discuss it further.
It's really what you want to do with the boardwalk at this point.
Just a quick comment, former Mayor Ruggiero, God rest his soul, the boardwalk was his dream. So I guess I'm gonna have to tell him, Frank, it's not gonna happen.
It's not going to happen, Frank. Fish stinks.
Anyway, moving forward, what I'd like to do is change our agenda. Poor Mrs. Potter has waited diligently for all this discussion, and we have a resolution here for her. Colleen, would you assist me in,
The mayor?
you going to the podium?
The podium?
Mr. Maney, you want our mayor too?
I have an award as well.
The mayor.
Let's all go.
Do you want to go first, Mayor? or You want me to go first?
You go first.
Okay. This is a resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Mount Olive honoring Debbie Potter for her years of service, commitment, and dedication to the Township of Mount Olive. Whereas Debbie Potter has served the Township of Mount Olive since May of 1985. And whereas Debbie Potter began her employment with the Township in the Planning Department on May 22nd, 1985. I can attest to that. I was with her. Whereas Debbie Potter was appointed Planning Board Secretary on January 1, 1987, and whereas Debbie Potter has then transferred to the Construction Code Official's Office in January of 2002, and whereas Debbie Potter then transferred to the Health Department on June 2nd, 2008, and whereas while working the Health Department, Debbie Potter had many duties, including serving on Health Department licensing agent and serving as alternate registrar and sub-registrar from 2010 until her day of retirement. Take over right here.
Whereas while serving the Township of Mount Olive in the Health Department, Debbie Potter managed and supervised the operations of the food bank and worked tirelessly in preparing for holiday gift giving, including Thanksgiving baskets, maintaining a Christmas list for needy families, and Easter food baskets. And whereas Debbie Potter has retired from employment with the Township of Mount Olive on January 31st, 2014, and whereas Debbie Potter and her services will certainly be missed by the residents of Mount Olive Township, and whereas during her over 28 years of service to the Township of Mount Olive, Debbie Potter earned the respect and admiration of her colleagues for her public service and dedication to the residents of Township of Mount Olive, and whereas the Township of Mount Olive wishes Debbie Potter the best of luck on her retirement. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Township Council of the Township of Mount Olive, County of Morris, and State of New Jersey, that Debbie Potter is hereby recognized and honored for her dedication, service, and commitment to the residents of Township of Mount Olive in appreciation of her career and contributions to the Township of Mount Olive.
Debbie? Mayor, come on, let's take a...
And I have to speak. Debbie, where has the time gone? It's unbelievable. When I first started here, I would say you were a young woman, but instead I'm going to say that John Mania was about 6'2", had dark hair, and was a staunch Democrat. Notwithstanding, you know what, it came down to we're very sad that you've retired. We're happy for you, obviously. We had a hard time choosing between the gold watch and this retirement award. You got the retirement award, but thank you so much for everything that you've done for the township, and you're always welcome here.
Thank you.
And hopefully you'll be at every council meeting going forward.
I'll be up here.
So congratulations to you.
so
Let me
much.
present this to you. Okay.
Thank you, Debbie.
Just want to say I'm going to miss the smile faces on my dog and cat renewal form. She always puts a little smiley face for me.
Thank you, Libby, too. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Debbie.
If you hang around for another half an hour, there's a party, for a retirement party. John Maney is throwing it. Thank you, John.
You're welcome. Okay, next on the agenda, we have resolutions. I believe we have 12.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Debbie.
Enjoy.
Is there any discussion?
Mr. Maney, did we the discussion for the boardwalk, did we actually go through and do, we're saying no? Because I
The
don't think we...
mayor says right now,
So, yeah, I
it's
didn't
not
know,
on the table.
we're good, right, on that?
For which?
I didn't know, for the boardwalk, did you want a council straw poll,
I
or?
don't need a
just
council
Okay,
straw.
just want to make sure.
I asked.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Lebo. We have 12, again, we have 12 resolutions. Any discussion? Hearing none. Ordinance, we have 4 ordinances. Any discussion? Anybody from the public? Nobody from the public? Old business. Mr. Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to bring the council and administration up to speed. At the last meeting, Chuck McGrorty was here making the presentation for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund for Habitat for Humanity. I had asked Mr. McGrorty to go back to the executive director of Morris Habitat for the Energy Star certifications that we had asked them to obtain, and which they had said that they would. I am happy to tell you that both the Lozier Road project and the Hatacawana, both of those homes, we did receive Energy Star certification, and they will be also pursuing that on the balance of their projects. That's it, Mr. President.
Any other old business? Any new business? Motion adjourned to adjourn to the public portion.
So
Before you
moved.
do,
Second.
before you do, John, I'm sorry, we have Michael Bremski here from, is it Obremski?
Yes.
From JCP&L. Rather than have him sit through the whole meeting, did you have something that you wanted to address with us?
minutes,
Absolutely. Go up to the mic, please.
Mr. President, if I could set the table, Mike took over for John Anderson. He's been their liaison since Sandy. JCP&L has really made a lot of efforts to reduce the span of control of their representatives and really try to force the communication with the towns. And Mike's been our representative, and I knew him before coming to Mount Olive, but I got to say, God bless you.
Bless you.
He's been a pleasure to work with. We constantly get email and cell phone updates, and he's done a great job. So he's been a tremendous liaison and a great
That's certainly
representative.
nice to hear.
Well, thank you for the kind words, Sean. Good evening, everyone. It's
evening.
a pleasure being here tonight and allowing me a few minutes. I've tried to get up here earlier during the year, but it always seems to snow, and I really didn't want to come up the hill in the snow. So first nice day, I wanted to come up here and at least give you an update on what's happened over the last year or so. As Sean mentioned, we've gone through a reorganization through the area managers. I used to be in the Booton district where I first met Sean, and I had an opportunity to come up to what we call our Dover district. I live in Randolph, former council member, former mayor, so I know what it's like to sit up here. So I know what you go through, which makes it a lot easier for me to handle my municipalities. I've gone from 45 towns down to 19, which is very manageable. I have from the Rockaways west, and including 2 towns in Sussex, Stanhope and Apacong. So it's a nice small territory. My office is now in Dover. They moved me out of Morristown, much to my chagrin at first, but I'm out there with the linemen now, so I know when all the work is getting done, it's working out very well to be out in the field with those folks. We have a new president. He started just about a year ago, Jim Fakold, has hit the ground running and has made some great changes, including hiring more area managers, so that's wonderful. This year, we're spending about $251 million on our capital projects, including another $25 million on forestry. It's funny how since Sandy, the towns have welcomed us to come in and trim trees, so we're taking advantage of that to improve reliability. We've adopted as a company the incident command system, so we're now on the same page with all of your emergency responders. We've had drills. We participated in the Morris County OEM drill back in April. We just had our own drill internally about a month ago, which went very well. And as Sean mentioned, we started our outage notification program. A little sluggish at first, but now any outage in Morris County, over 100 customers, I will send out an email to whoever wants to be on that list. Mayor, I believe you're on it.
I am, I get all of them.
So it's, at first, we were reluctant to do the whole county. We were going to shrink it by town, but in talking with folks, they do care what goes on in Morris County. If they don't want to know what's going on in Morris Township, they'll hit delete. So it's a good way. So if anybody wants to be on that list, let Sean know and he'll let me know. I'll add you to it. It's very easy to do. But it gives you an idea, and I'll follow up with an update as to what the cause is and when the customers are back in, and it's a useful tool for your residents and yourselves. We've also partnered with local IBEW 102 down in Parsippany. It's electrical union of electricians. We have 400 of their members on board that if we have another major event, we can use them to supplement our workforce in terms of hazard responding, and also hooking up those last customers, which are just single customers. We can use them as well. We have another 400 down in our central region as well that we've have come on board as well. One of the concerns during Sandy that most towns had, which we didn't realize, we're in the business of restoring electricity, not opening roads. That seemed to be a major problem for municipalities in getting emergency vehicles through. We now have developed a road opening process. We have dedicated dispatchers and crews that'll work with your local OEM, the county OEM, to identify those critical roads, and we'll get those open first. The balance comes, since we're putting crews on road opening, they're not restoring service. So that's a balance, but people will have to prepare, and at least we'll be able to get the emergency vehicles through. Social media, people wanted to know what was going on. We heard it loud and clear. 70% of the people that contacted us during Sandy did so via smartphone. Now through your smartphone, you can reach us. I can't even tell you how many ways. It's as simple now as texting OUT, and you can report an outage on your home account no matter where you are. Just have to sign up and so forth, and you can get different alerts. When your bill is available, how much it is, you'll get severe weather alerts. You name it, you can do it from your smartphone now in terms of reaching us. Even Facebook, you can report an outage right from our Facebook page. We have Twitter. You name it, we have it. It's out there. We have a new outage map that is very user-friendly. You can go on and hit the little icon, and you can zoom down to a street level, find out where that outage is, what the cause is, where the crew is, and what the restoration time is going to be. And that's updated every 15 minutes. We've also have web pages for every town on our 24/7 Power Center. It's called My Town. You can click on Mount Olive and you'll see how many customers we serve, how many poles are in town, how many miles of wire. And during major events, that will kind of blow up and give you more information as to what's going on just in your town. And the latest was the 24/7 Power Center, as I mentioned, which is that outage map. We've now made those enhancements with the crew status. That went in about 2 months ago. So now you'll know whether it's been dispatched, whether they're en route, whether they've arrived. So you'll know what the status of that outage is going to be. Breeze through it. That's all I have. Questions, fire away, and I'll let you get back to your meeting.
Mr. Perkins? Mrs. Lebo, go ahead.
I just want to say you guys are doing a great job, and I have seen on Facebook and the emails, and I had a call one time, there was an outage somewhere, I called Mr. Canning, and like within 15 seconds found out what it was from and when the power would be restored. So thank you very, very much. I congratulate all of you on the turnaround that you guys did. It's fantastic.
And our pleasure. And one other thing, Mount Olive was always, we didn't know much about it. When I came up here, it's the furthest reach in my territory. So you have a great salesperson in town, I have to tell you. She's behind the camera right now. We have sponsored 2 events so far this year, the Do or Die Run, the Farmers Market, and we are also a sponsor of the Carnival coming up. So
Thank you.
I put money in the budget this year, it was approved, so we're back in Mount Olive, and you're going to see my face again quite often. So
Mr. Perkins?